Steiner School welcomes children of all abilities, faiths and backgrounds. And every Steiner pupil is nurtured as an individual, someone with distinct physical, emotional, spiritual and academic needs. All over the world, Steiner schools offer children an unhurried and natural chance to develop. Their methods are tried and tested, and their schools are part of state-funded mainstream education in many countries. These are places where children develop a zest for life, a love of school and a lifelong commitment to learning. And the child's love of learning and school becomes the adult's intellectual journey and love of life.
The want for going to school is very prevalent, but I think you'll find a lot of kids here who, it doesn't matter what their age is, they want to come in and they want to be here, they want to get to school, they want to enjoy the environment.
Layla Jaffrey.
I'm here.
The morning routine in a Steiner classroom begins with quietening and calming the children to prepare them for a day of friendship and learning. I watched as this teacher quickly settled her class.
I'm no longer waiting for Joe. Thank you for Joe for joining us.
And then used music, exercise and rhythm to encourage all-round balanced development.
Which thou so graciously.
There's a spiritual dimension within Steiner education, but not a faith-based religious element. Something that Professor Philip Woods told me he'd examined when he carried out the first government study of Steiner schools.
There are spiritual or religious lessons, but those lessons are not about inculcating a faith. It's about being open to different faiths and understanding them and taking part in ceremonies, being aware of the seasons, being aware of nature. It's that very broad way in which children over time come to have a feeling for a broader side of life, the spiritual, rather than taking on a set of beliefs.
Blessings on the meal and peace upon the earth.
The pupils remain with the same class teacher for their main lesson from 7 until they are 13, making that relationship strong and trusting.
Start from the top and watch, there's a change here.
Class time is divided between active learning periods and quiet working sessions, with all schools following a broad and balanced curriculum. And it's not all about learning through play, although wherever possible, opportunities are provided to learn through experience.
7, 14 is, 2 times 7, 21 is.
And at all stages in the curriculum, brain work is balanced with artistic activity and with doing activities.
So we've got 18 bean bags. Can somebody come and take half away?
What are the advantages of teaching somebody using visual props rather than just on a book?
Yes, well, first of all, you see it, so it gives a stronger sense impression. Secondly, you're touching something, so it also works on the sense of touch. And, and the picture is stronger than it would be if you just see something black and white in a book.
Central to the Steiner experience of every pupil is what they call their main lesson, a submergence in one subject for the first 2 hours of every school day for 3 to 4 weeks. Each pupil has a main lesson book and it's treasured. They write in it all they learn in the main lesson in their own words and drawings. These books are evidence of the careful and natural way they're growing intellectually. There's nothing forced about their development at all.
If you're looking at concrete outcomes, then we would not look at it from the point of view of this being like a supermarket trolley dash, where you just run around the counters trying to grab hold of as many things as you can, as quickly as you can. It's much more an emphasis on looking, observing, experiencing the phenomena, and moving with those phenomena through the years of childhood and into adolescence. So there is a different quality to it. It isn't all about input, output. It is much more about the child's responses, the child's reflection to what's in front of them and around them.
Which is why, as well as active learning, there's plenty of time at a Steiner school for reflection, for thinking. As the class works together on the same project, they absorb their newfound knowledge, often in silence. Sally Goddard Blythe is a psychologist and author who specialises in child development.
It would appear that they are so totally absorbed in what they're doing that the silence is actually their own interest and concentration. And children who are bored tend to be rowdy children. Children who are absorbed tend to be quieter.
In terms of educational outcomes, the speed with which children learn, is that important?
What is important that they go at the pace that is right for them as an individual. And what this sort of education seems to do is to allow the time for that to take place. I would say it was a good thing, because again, you're allowing different parts of the brain to learn in different ways, and then when you come to the conclusion at the end, you integrate all those things. And so much of hothouse learning actually is just teaching like this, in a linear way, instead of teaching in a broader way, so that everything comes together at the end.
Catch your sheep. Bring him back. Off, John Strike. You try.
Part of that broad development is the teaching of skills like knitting, which develop physical dexterity and hand-eye coordination.
I suppose when they're nimble with their fingers, they're nimble with their minds.
Through lessons like this, the child is also learning about willpower, concentration, patience. All of this is a precursor to formal academic learning, which is introduced when the child reaches 7. Rhythm and music are also used to teach languages and many other subjects from a young age. All of these teaching methods ensure balanced neurological development.
When children enjoy what they're doing, when there's joy in learning, they tend to learn at a deeper rate, not necessarily faster, but certainly deeper. And that play is an incredibly important stage in developing all the rounded skills that support the higher, more detailed aspects of learning that we think of conventionally as academic learning.
I didn't learn to read or write till I was about 8, and by 10 I was reading Lord of the Rings, and so kind of it's a lot quicker then, and then the lessons you learn from the younger classes you bring into that. So while you're consciously not learning to read and write, you are, like, unconsciously, I think.
Like literacy, ICT skills and the use of computers are also introduced later.
Steiner schools are not against computers. They're not against modern technology either. I think it's more connected to the idea that there is a time and a place for everything. And I guess the question would be that if they're saturated in it when they're very young, what do they not do? What gets left out?
By the time a Steiner pupils into their teenage years, nothing has been left out. Nurtured and full of inquiry, it's now that the unrushed early years of broad education bear academic fruit.
So you guys are actually going to have 4 graphs.
I'm using 4 different colours in one.
Excellent. Well done. That's what I mean.
Initiative.
Yes. Initiative. Good initiative.
Steiner graduates are highly sought after in further education and workplace for their unjaded interest in the world and for their resourcefulness, as these 2 high-achieving former pupils prove.
So after my A-levels, I went on to study biology at Bristol, and then from there I went on to study for a PhD at the John Innes Centre in Norwich, where I still am now.
And what is your PhD about?
I'm studying an aspect of grain development in cereals, so it's crop science.
Well, after my A-levels and an internship in Congress in Washington DC, I studied PP at Durham, and during that time secured a placement with the BBC Foreign Affairs correspondent to the Middle East.
The learning environment is very rigorous, and just that you're doing other things as well doesn't mean that the academic side is neglected in any way.
I know it's a stereotype, but no one says school has to be boring, and it certainly wasn't. You learn a lot through doing your own research as well. There's a lot of independent research, and even I remember drawing the pictures to go alongside the essays actually has helped me remember things. For example, if we're studying history, I have a greater memory of certain historical events because I remember drawing that horse or that medieval castle.
Artistic activity and the development of the imagination are hugely important in Steiner schools, where high standards are achieved through encouragement, not pressure, through finding the joy in learning, not through testing. At no stage are the students continually tested in any subject or made to compete against each other for attention or prestige. This is all part of the Steiner ethos too, which holds that a less pressurised childhood will help to develop a healthy, capable and well-balanced adult. Pupils at this Steiner school are proud of the education they're receiving.
I feel I could go to my sponsor or my subject teachers about things not related to school
You have to look at the people who are coming out at the top end of the school, who are like class 12, class 13, who've been through the whole thing, and you talk to them and you get a different sense when you're talking to them. You're talking to someone who's often more well-rounded and more like has a broader knowledge, and I think that's like testament to the education.
I felt myself to be capable of being my own person, and I didn't feel I had to be swept along with the crowd.
More than 80 years after the first Steiner School was started in Central Europe, this education continues to inspire people from all walks of life and in all parts of the world. It provides rigorous learning and natural childhood development. And by understanding the needs of children and allowing them to learn and grow at their own pace, Steiner Schools produce fully rounded young adults who are ready to embrace all of life's potential.